the Baen Free Radio Hour.
On the podcast, holiday savings and all the Baen swag Santa can carry. Plus, we continue our ongoing audiobook serialization of Timothy Zahn's Cobra, all right now. Welcome to the Baen Free Radio Hour. It's a pleasure to have you along. This week, we bring you my conversation with Baen publisher, editor-in-chief, and art director Toni Weisskopf, as well as discussions with Baen editors D.J. Butler and Gray Rinehart. We look back on 2022 and look forward to 2023. We discussed highlights of this past year and gave you a peek into what is coming from Baen Books in the new year. But first, the news. Just in time for the holidays and in honor of last month's release of Penrick's Labors, we're offering discounts on all Baen Lois McMaster Bujold titles, including her groundbreaking Vorkosigan saga, the Penrick and Desdemona novels, standalone novel The Spirit Ring, and more. Head on over to Baen.com to see the full list. These discounts expire at the stroke of midnight as 2022 becomes 2023 and are good wherever Baen ebooks are sold. Looking for the perfect gift this holiday season? Well, look no further. Give the Baen Books lovers in your life what they really want: more Baen Books with Baen Books gift cards. You decide the amount, but remember, e-ARCs are $15 a piece, monthly bundles $18. Pretty sure they already have everything? Head on over to the Baen Cafe Press Store and check out our wide variety of Baen merchandise with travel mugs, t-shirts, tote bags, hats, and more. There is something for every Baen fan. And don't forget about the Baen Challenge coins. All of this information can be found at Baen.com, and act now while supplies last. All right, we are here with Gray Rinehart. He's been on the podcast before, but he's probably not a super familiar face. He's mostly behind the scenes here at Baen. So Gray, can you introduce yourself, tell everybody what you do here, and then we'll get on to talking about the year in review and what we've got coming up.
Sure, David. Thanks very much. My unofficial title is Slush Master General. I look at unsolicited manuscripts, which is the slush, and I've been doing this actually for about 15 years now, maybe a little more. So I think I've figured out the system by now. But I'm also a Baen author, although only in anthology form.
But you're an author. You've written at least one novel.
I do have a novel, Walking on the Sea of Clouds. Came out from Wordfire Press several years ago. It's also available in audio. And I'm pretty pleased with it.
All right, excellent. Well, like we say in the intro, this is we're looking back on 2022 and some of the things maybe people have missed or maybe weren't aware of, or maybe they were aware of, but they're so cool we want to talk about them some more. So for you, as you look back over 2022, what here Baen or Baen related kind of sticks out in your mind as a highlight?
Well, the first thing is this novel right here, Michael Merceau's The Deep Man, which came out in January of this year. I'm particularly pleased with this one because I picked it out of the slush. And after I recommended it to our publisher, Toni Weisskopf, she actually assigned me to do the developmental edit on it.
Oh, awesome.
And I think it's a very fine novel. It's a science fiction, military flavor, but it has elements of philosophy and personal struggles against larger forces, empire, and that kind of thing. Reminded me of Dune in some aspects, maybe with a little less ecological world building and a little more on the economic and empire family struggles, the noble families and their internecine struggles, if you will.
Sure. Well, so I guess maybe we should even take a step back and just briefly explain. Slush is unagented, unsolicited
manuscripts that come into us.
Right. So these are writers out there who have written a book and they think, man, I would love to see a Baen logo on the spine of this. They send them to you. So how often do we end up publishing something in those? There's the famous quote, 98% of science fiction is crap, so is 98% of everything. And while we're not calling anyone's work crap, we do know that the bar is very high where we can only publish so many books, and David Weber takes up a lot of our slots, as do other established authors. So how often is it that you see a book in the slush that makes it all the way to getting the Baen treatment in print?
It is rare, I have to admit.
So this is exciting, is what I'm trying to say.
It's very exciting for me, because it really makes my job exciting when I can find something good enough to recommend to the boss.
Right.
That really only happens a few times a year. Mm-hmm. And then because we have so many authors already in our production pipeline, it's sometimes hard to find a slot for a new book. And so when this one made the cut,
it's a fun day.
It's a really good feeling.
Yeah, it's great. And if you are a avid listener or watcher of the podcast, we did have Michael Merceau on back when the book came out. So if you did miss that, you can go back and listen to the interview where he gives his, some of his insight into writing it and the process and everything. And we're going to talk about. So I think there's a little bit more to talk about with this, maybe when we get to what we're looking forward to next year. So
Indeed.
There's a teaser for 2 minutes from now. But I see you have another book here. So what is this?
Well,
and I guess this is technically next year, isn't it?
No,
is it out?
No,
Okay.
It is out now.
Okay, it is out now. All right.
And
I'm hearing that this is a #1 on Amazon.
Very pleased to see it as a #1 new release on Amazon as an anthology. This is the World's Long Lost anthology, and I am and more down
That's
here
your pen name is and more.
And more. But I was very, very pleased to be invited to submit a story to this anthology. My story is called The Building Will Continue. It was my first attempt to do something in a Lovecraftian horror vein, and I wasn't sure that I had gotten it, but when Christopher, the lead editor on it, wrote me back and said he was taking it, I was very happy with that. And I'm thrilled to actually be on the table of contents with Orson Scott Card, who was one of my writing teachers.
Oh, wow.
Many years ago.
Excellent. Yeah.
And so that was a very special moment for me.
And I know that was exciting for all of us here at Baen because I believe this is the first time he's been in a Baen book. So we were thrilled to have him.
Absolutely.
As we were also thrilled to have you and all the other fine contributors.
Well, thanks for that. I don't know the thrill on that end, but and thrill for me. Anyway.
Sure. And this is sort of ancient aliens archaeology with a Lovecraftian feel is sort of the idea of these stories. So.
That's what I was asked for, and I tried really hard to make it happen.
Yeah. Well, so what about you? Also, we mentioned you are a writer and an editor. You do the slush, but you also have another fandom-esque passion, which is folk music.
True.
And I think you said you had an album come out this year.
I did. Yeah. My third album called "Taking You Out to See the Stars" came out this summer. Unfortunately, I don't have physical CDs. But maybe that's not a bad thing because I don't know how many people do physical CDs.
They're getting
anymore.
harder. I'm an old. It's funny to say if you listen to CDs, you feel like an old fogey. But I'm like having to hunt these things down. I'm like, what? I thought my car doesn't even have a CD player anymore. So
neither does my truck.
Yep. So,
but it's on Spotify and on Bandcamp. Folks can listen to the entire thing on Bandcamp for free, and then if they want to throw me a little change now and again, I appreciate that. But
and are these all original songs, or is there covers? Or
they are all original. One is derived from a Tolkien poem.
Okay.
But it's an odd mix because they're not all science fiction and fantasy related. And it's also a very personal album because in some respects it was sort of a retrospective, if you will, or a tribute maybe to my late wife, and part of how I processed through that grief, but also songs about ghosts and songs about weird things, but that's what you have in the weird mode of music that I do anyway.
Yeah. Let's look forward to 2023. As we teased a little earlier, there may be something from Michael Merceau that you are excited about. What else are you excited about? Talk about that and tell us what else maybe you're looking forward to, and that the secrets we can reveal at this time. Yes.
Well, in addition to the Deep Man coming out in mass market paperback, the smaller format paperback, we are in the process of contracting for the sequel to this, which is called The Silent Hand. And let me tell you, as I read that, it was everything this was and more.
All right.
Because you really get to find out some of the personal history and how some of these characters got to be the way they are. And then, of course, they are continuing with the really intense military action in terms of liberating this planet. And it's so well done. And I believe, though I am not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty sure there will be a third novel in this series after that one. So
can keep your eye out.
I don't think it'll come out in 2023, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, and you will be working on that one. It sounds like.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In fact, I already did my sort of developmental part of it, and let me tell you, it was easy because this Michael is a pro.
Yeah. And
he writes so well, really draws you into the scene and puts you into the action. Very easy to edit.
All right. That's always good. Anything else to look forward to, or just sort of the regular excitement here at Baen?
For me, it's going to be more or less the day-to-day. I do hope to get out to a few conventions this year and get to see some folks who I haven't seen for a while. And just looking forward to continuing to try to mine those, nuggets of gold from the slush and recommend some good stuff to the boss.
Okay, excellent. Well, Gray, thank you so much, and Happy New Year to you.
I appreciate it, David.
Look forward to,
same to you and
to
your fine family. And appreciate everything you do and appreciate everything that our readers and listeners do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now joining us is Toni Weisskopf. She's been on the podcast before, and of course you know her as the publisher, editor-in-chief, art director, sort of everything Baen, the lady at the top. Toni, it's good to be here with you talking about Baen Books in 2022 and looking forward to 2023. So, of course, we have all the highlights from 2022, but we only have limited time. So why don't you take us through some of the things that were memorable for you, and you just want to make people maybe who, if they fell through the cracks or they're not aware of them, some of the things from this past year that were exciting for you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about every single book.
Perfect.
Right, because I'm the lady at the top. So I get to do that. But also because I love all of them, right?
Absolutely.
I am so proud of our team and the authors and the books that have come through. So I do want to sort of touch on all of them, even if very briefly. And that will also lead into what we're planning for 2023.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, first book we published published last year was, or this year, Stolen Skies, a great new urban fantasy from Tim Powers that touched on UFO. Tim Powers takes on UFOs. Oh my God, so much fun. We had a great podcast with Tim, and that was actually one of my highlights, was the podcast that we did with with Tim,
not about the book specifically, but
about the UFOs.
Yeah.
Yes, with Tim and Les Johnson and Travis Taylor. That was fantastic. If you guys haven't caught that podcast, definitely should try that. But Tim has a new novel that he's just delivered with us that is a historical fantasy, and the Bronte family, Emily Bronte and Charlotte Bronte of Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights fame, is the center of this, and it is so much fun. So looking forward to that. So that one is coming out in whatever the next year is.
Whatever, 2023.
We think it's going to be 2023.
Right. So Stolen Skies was a Vickery and Castine novel,
yes.
And that's what he's mostly been doing with us. But now we've got something not in that universe, brand new from Tim Powers. So, definitely something exciting.
Yeah. Yes. So much fun. And in February, our lead hardcover was A Call to Insurrection, which is a great entry into the Honorverse. It's part of the historicals that David has been doing with Tim Zahn and Tom Pope, and that was so much fun. In March, we had Servants of War, which is something a little bit different for us. It was a little grim darky, right? It is a World War I fantasy. It's a sort of a fantasy take on World War I. So golems and trench warfare, so it's Steve Diamond working with Larry Correia, and the mix of the two of those guys.
And that's part of a new series, right? Age of Ravens.
Age of Ravens. Yes. Yeah. So we just signed a contract for the next one.
Right.
So it's really excited about that one coming up also sometime probably in late 23, early 24, probably. And then Into the Real was April with John Ringo and Lydia Scherer. Lydia's a new author to Baen. She's a star of indie, and that was a contemporary. John did not kill off 90% of the Earth's population in the first book. So, do we have that to look forward to later? No spoilers here. But we are looking forward to publishing the second in that series in 23 as well. Then we had Harbinger, which is, actually, Sean, could you get the cover for that? Because that was just such a beautiful, beautiful cover by Dominic Spencer. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, we got the wall of Weber back here. Just to show you guys this. Dominic Harmon has been a new artist with us, which means he's only been working with us for about 5 or 6 or maybe 10 years at this point. A new entry in her urban fantasy series, the Tinker urban fantasy series, which is great book too. So
I know we seemed like a lot of fans were very happy to see a new entry in that series.
Count me as one of them. And she is working on the next one in this series. Can't rush me.
Probably not 23. But
probably not.
Still keep an eye out.
Right. But probably early 24 again when we're not rushing. Okay. So in the trade paperbacks, we had The Deep Man. I know Gray talked about that. We have
From the Slush. So exciting.
It is. I mean, we truly take our source piles seriously. So that absolutely is a way to get published at Baen, and we're looking forward to publishing his second novel early in 23 as well. Another collection from Lee and Miller, the Lee Aiden universe, which is a great way to enter into that very long-running series, right? We're looking forward to the 100th volume I think in 2024. Is it 2024? Yeah. Next year. All right, so in 2023. Thank you, Sean. Sean Korsgaard is doing the honors for the camera for the camera work here. So Jane Linskold had her fantasy duology, her Portal fantasy duology, which is just a beautiful take on that she had on that. I love the fact that it was multi-generational. right? We had the teenage questers, and then we had the mentors from our Earth, who were ladies of a certain age. Yes, and this too was also just a great.
This is so cool. This is like, well, I don't want to play favorites, but I thought this was such a cool idea to.
Yeah, and this was all Tom Kidd's idea too.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah, essentially my role as art director is to pick extraordinary artists and let them do their thing. So this was all kudos to Tom Kidd. This is Jane had given us these books both at the same time, so we were able to give them both to Tom Kidd at the same time. So I was looking for a series look, and he's like, do you want a serious look? And I'm like, oh yes, do that. And Jane, also, we just signed a contract with Jane for another book in this universe.
Oh, cool.
So this sequence is finished, but there's more adventures to be had in the universe. So Valley Hellions came out by Tim Akers.
Yeah, that's well. We can't pull every book off, but that was a great cover.
It was also a great cover. Todd Lockwood was the artist on on that one. Really striking urban fantasy cover, and Tim also got a fantastic cover for his epic fantasy, Wraithbound.
Is that's coming up next year?
It is.
Yeah. In April. Yes.
It is. We're sort of having these things tend to run in I don't know, bunches, I guess, sine waves, possibly.
Something.
we don't try. So it's we're having sort of a hard science fiction moment where we're having some really great hard science fiction come through, and sort of as that's peaking, we're seeing an epic fantasy rise.
We're segueing into
epic fantasy and sword and sorcery both.
Yeah.
So Wraithbound is sort of the leading edge of that.
All right.
And you've got a great cover for that too. Sean Hazlitt, World War IV, came out in March. We also had a little moment of really good military science fiction anthologies, original anthologies, and really excited about.
Yeah, that was the sort of it is a tongue twister of a title for me, anyways. Weird World War III.
Yes.
And then this is the war after the next,
Right.
Yeah. So the sequels, and so we get a little weirder even with this one in a good way.
Yeah. No, we do, and we're sort of taking it into science fiction territory as well. It's not just weird and dark; it's also weird and dark in space.
Yeah.
So, which is appropriate, right? Space Force is a thing, and also this probably won't be next year. It'll be looking on the horizon. We have a contract signed with Stuart Hardwick to do an original anthology based around the newly constituted Space Force.
Right, yeah.
So that's exciting too.
Yeah, very much.
Care packages.
Oh, care packages to the military. Thank you, Sean. In November of this year, as we do every November, we put out a call. If you guys know anybody who is currently serving in our military or related, we've sent to allied armies, England and Canada and Belgium and Australia, New Zealand. Anybody who's currently deployed or currently serving, if you have an address, we will send you books. That is our idea of a care package because we are readers, right?
That's how we show we care.
Exactly. It is. And to show that we appreciate your service as well. That's ongoing all throughout the year, but we tend to publicize it in November around Veterans Day. Also ongoing throughout the year, we send books to VA hospitals. And for those, we rely on our fans. If you have a VA hospital in your area and you can walk the books in, contact us and we will set you up. We will hook you up. So, yeah.
All right.
All right. So, Time Troopers, which is one of our reprint anthologies. We do those
another
in-house.
Great
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah. That is another great cover. Kieran Yanner, I think this was his first cover for us.
Oh, really?
So he is a brand new artist to Baen.
Yeah.
Although not to the field. Yeah.
Bring it over. Oh.
Yeah, even better. All right, there we go. I'm not going to go into each and every paperback. Okay?
No, we also do mass markets there. That covers it, right?
It does. It does.
And I maintain, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, that the mass market paperback is the greatest fiction delivery service created in the history of the world.
Yeah.
I'm on record. I love those things. You know, I love that we still do them even as ebooks. When we love ebooks too, and I read a lot of ebooks, but I love the mass market, so it's great.
I think people predicted that the paperback would go away. The mass market paperback would go away as the ebook achieved supremacy.
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened.
It
hasn't happened.
Yeah.
No, and I think you're right. It's because it is maybe not the perfect. I'm not sure there are perfect things on this side of heaven, but right, other than obviously present company. But but it is a great way to read.
Yeah.
Right? It's a good size for your hand. The size of print that you can get. So it works as a physical object.
Right.
And I think, I think it will never go away.
Yeah.
I agree with you. So looking at our summer, yeah.
Oh, so I was going to say, okay, keep going. That's right, because that was only one season.
That was, I know.
Settle in.
That was only one season, right? We had David Weber and Chip Powers and Larry Correa, John Ringer and Wes Spencer, and that was just the hardcovers. So much fun. And so our summer led off with Sharon Lee and Steve Miller. Right? If you want summer reading, binge reading, oh my gosh. I mean, there is no better series to do that with than Liaden, I think, right now. So we had a new novel in that series, and we will have another Liaden novel in that sequence. Salvage Right is going to be coming out, I don't know, sometime in 2023. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Right? And then the next month in June, we had David Weber and Jane Linskold
returning to the YA Star Kingdom series.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a new artist for that sequence, a new artist to that series. I don't think Bob Eggleton had ever done an Honorverse book before, but he was thrilled to be the first person to do a hexapuma.
Ah.
Right. So if you want to see what a hexapuma looks like, is it right behind us? Yeah. New Clan right there.
There it is.
Yeah.
Now, there you go.
Yeah. So if you've always wanted to know, this is This is what a hexapuma looks like. To Bob Eggleton, right?
Yeah.
Right. There will be others, right, in the Honorverse, illustrated, but that was one. Then the following month we had a Tim Zahn, the Icarus plot, right? And so that's on the we put that was such a great cover from Dave Seeley. This is the artwork. And
this is like a great heist sort of.
Yes, it is.
Ocean's 11 in space kind of. Yeah,
with the fun twists and the cool characters.
Build the team and
exactly. So much. I mean, all the stuff that Tim brought to the Star Wars universe. He's getting to do his own universe.
Yes.
Right. So much fun. I mean, this is a series close to Tim's heart too. And happy to say there will be another Icarus book coming out in 2023.
Yes.
The Icarus Twin.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's just even the title, the way that it relates to the plot is interesting. Yeah. So, in August we had an Acidi Shards novel from Kevin Eikenberry.
Right. Yeah.
So Kevin, again, he's not a new author, but he was new to Baen, and worked closely with Eric Flint to develop this one.
Yeah.
And we get to see military cadets, what George Washington would do with military cadets with modern sidearms, right? And again, an absolutely beautiful cover. Is that from Kieran?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, another great cover from Kieran Yanner. So, and then also in August, a great techno-thriller science fiction novel by Travis Taylor, Ballistic.
Yeah, very like near future. Yeah, could happen tomorrow.
Yes. What happens if one of the richest men in the world decides to hold the world hostage? Not that I'm saying they would do that, right? Okay, but
if they wanted to,
what would they do? How would they go about it, right? And so the International Space Station plays an important part, but also, again, seeing how Travis puts that team together. Yeah. Right. There's the Marine. There are the engineers. There's the woman in the Space Force. The astronaut who's on the space station. They all play a really important part in this, and it's just nonstop, amazing actions, just pure pure, full on Travis is so much fun. Yeah.
And that's one I don't think we did I don't think Travis is very busy, and so I don't know if we got a chance to do a podcast. We've talked about it when it was released, but I don't know if we did a full interview. So if you missed that one somehow,
yes,
definitely go back and check out the book, because it is
for sure. And you should check out his TV show too. He's on the History Channel doing the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and it ties directly into UFOs, which are now, we know a lot of information about them has become declassified. I don't think we're even calling them UFOs.
We're calling them
something trendier. Or whatever.
UFO is cooler. I'm going to stay old school until I am forced not to.
I'm going to say until you die. But yes. Which is hopefully a long time from now. So we all know what we're talking about. These phenomena that for a long time, well, maybe it's the Russians, and the Russians were like, well, it's probably the Americans,
right? And
and the Chinese were, it's probably the Russians and Americans.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not any of us.
Right.
So what is it?
So what's going on?
We don't know.
Exactly.
We don't know. But part of what Travis is doing is trying to measure these phenomena.
Yeah.
Right. And he's bringing his Rocket City redneck attitude to this endeavor, but it's also a very scientific method. Yeah.
And again, we did that. You did that UFO roundtable early in the year. So, and Travis was able to do that.
He was.
So there's
because he wasn't filming.
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't in Utah filming. So, also that season we had Dave Butler, beloved podcast host.
Yes.
His science fiction novel, Abbott in Darkness.
I got the chance to talk to him about it, so that I really liked it.
Yeah, it is. It's a great planet story, and it's a story about a family, right? If you like the Rolling Stones, if you like Heinlein the Rolling Stones, then it's a realistic treatment of the family. Like, I see a lot of new writers when I do workshops and such, or when we get short story contests, and they'll try to develop a character by killing off their family, right? It's like, you were only interesting if your family is all dead.
Right.
This is not true, okay? So Butler shows you, right? It's like the whole family is of interest here, and the dog does not die. All right, I'm just saying.
Right. For those whoever's worried about it,
the dog does not die.
I love the aliens in it too.
Yes.
I told him. We don't. They kind of come late, so I don't want to spoil too much, but they're very cool.
They are. They're well thought out, and yes, and they're very important to how the story goes. So another one of our original anthologies, military science fiction anthologies, was Robo Soldiers. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your servos. Okay, Stephen Lawson, who is the editor. Right, but it is. It sounds like it's humorous military science fiction, but it's not. Mm-hmm. Again, a great cover here from Kurt Miller.
Was that Kurt?
Yeah. So if people were sort of wondering where has the military science fiction from Baen gone, it's gone into these original anthologies for this particular season. And again, these things come in waves. They come in waves. It's not that we've stopped publishing novels. It's just that the short stories and
we got so many slots. We got to mix it up sometimes.
Well, it's what comes in when.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's something in the zeitgeist. It's like
it absolutely is. So there's a nice mix here. He got his reserve commander, Major General retired Stephen Hogan, to do the introduction for this. He's a science fiction guy.
Yeah.
Right. So I love that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about a topic that actually is going to tie into a book that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Jigsaw Assassin, great novel by Catherine Asaro.
The Major Bajan novel. Yes.
Yeah. It's a mystery, but it also ties into the nature of AI and how human societies use AI, and so it's a straight mystery adventure. So it's just it's pure fun, but it's also got that sort of Baenish twist to it, where you're thinking about the implications of technology. And then Trouble Walked In by Mike Kupri, which was also a very different take on science fiction.
We had a little noir moment too.
We absolutely did. Yeah.
Hard-boiled noir movement. Yeah.
We did, right.
Moment.
Right. And Larry Correa and Casey Lazelle sort of led the charge on that with their original anthologies. Mm-hmm. But also novels came out of this. Yeah, so this was the first in their noir trilogy. This was the second in their noir trilogy. Dominic Harmon did the cover for this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can appreciate, but he's got the shield,
Yeah.
the Baen
He likes
logo.
to hide the Baen logo.
He does.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And he asked me, so what kind of business should be in the neon? And he came up with a reloading ammo, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's the business that's going to be there. So it's sort of down and out, and dark and noir. So that was our summer.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Just just amazing power pack stuff. And then so into fall, right? Into books now that you're going to be buying for your friends and family for the holidays. Just saying, they're coming up. All right. So No Game for Knights was the follow-up noir anthology.
Yeah.
And they're going to do a third one, right? So the first one was about the femme fatale.
Yeah.
The second one was
the detective.
Was the detective, right? Right. Our male hero / anti-hero. And the third, what is the third element of noir?
Is it the dog? No, I don't know. The
Good
city.
Guess. It is the city. It is the city, right? It's the setting.
Yeah.
It's the lonely streets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I don't remember what the title is, but watch out for that in 23 as well. This one is I have a soft spot for vampire stories. Okay,
Sure.
As who doesn't, right? All right, Christopher Rocchio doesn't, but but this was a new take on a vampire that I had not seen. Now, keep in mind that the first anthology that I ever edited for Baen was called Tomorrow Sucks. And it was a reprint anthology about science fictional takes on vampires. We had Susan Petrie and Dean Ing, and it was a reprint anthology. But so I love vampires, and this was one I hadn't seen before. So this was the Jewish superhero vampire, as one does, right? It's David Carrico's first solo novel for us. He's familiar to Baen readers from the 1632 universe.
Yeah. Well, he did the solo Ring of Fire thing, right?
Yes.
But this is his own creation, his own,
Yes, this is not a Ring of Fire novel, no.
Right. Yeah. If you try to figure out where it fits in the Ring of Fire, you're going to have a hard time because it doesn't.
It absolutely does not. But it is great fun. And if you have someone on your gift list who likes vampires, just saying. And so, all right, then in October we had the Janus File by David Weber and Jacob Holland.
Yeah, and what is the name of that series? The Gordian Division series.
Right, the Gordian Division series. So this is it's a police procedural set in their time travel multiverse universe. So instead of killing off literally billions of people, I believe there's only one murder in this one.
The body count is lower.
Body count is lower.
The stakes are still high.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they're getting to explore some of the cool new technology.
Yeah.
And I think the fun for this, for David, especially working with Jacob, is getting to do all the technology bits that he doesn't allow himself to do in the Honor Verse. Right? That this is where he does the androids and the AIs and the time travel and all of that kind of stuff that are absolutely verboten. He gets to play with here. So there is that. Then in November we had 1637, the Transylvanian decision, which is in the Ring of Fire. Eric Flint, as you know, passed away earlier this year, and he had just delivered this book with Robert Waters. It is not about vampires, again. No vampires.
Although, it
is set in Transylvania, but there are no vampires. Right, okay. So.
Now, is this the last book that Eric worked on?
It is not.
It is not. Okay, so we have more in the pipeline. Okay.
Yeah, Eric was a juggler. He
Sure.
had lots of irons in the fire. There are several collaborations that he had worked on the outlines for, had worked with his co-authors on, and that he will be getting full credit with because he put in the work.
Yeah.
And the next one of those will be coming out after this. I think it's
maybe in. What are we putting
I think
together
it's,
now?
yeah,
Maybe in.
Yeah, I think it's in 20.
So maybe fall.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's fall or spring of 23, and we'll be continuing the Russian saga. Of course, the Russia in the 1632 universe has broken up into several states and
that side of things.
Right. So you're right. You're right. There are lots of problems, but there's really interesting technology that they're exploring too. Trackless trains and steam powered airplanes, and we need
all
something
that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, you need that to get across the steps, right? Okay. So that's coming up. Then in November, we just had Penrick's Labors by Lois Bujold. Penrick is just such a cool.
And this is the third.
Yes, this is the third of her
collection.
Yes, of her Penrick series. We call them collections, but they're connected novellas. They read like novels. They're all about Penrick and Desdemona, who lives within him, Penrick is just such a fun person to hang out with. Right, Lois is a wonderful storyteller, and Penrick is and so much fun, and the cool twists and the lovely fantasy world. So, Penrick, awesome, great. And then for December, our hardcover is a original novel by Simon Green.
So this came out 2-3 weeks ago or whatever. I don't know what day. No, a week ago. As we record this, anyway.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of people associate Christmas with ghost stories.
Yeah, it's a long tradition of that, It's in the song. Lots of whatever and ghost stories of Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah.
It has the line about it.
All right. So. Why is it the most wonderful time of the year? Because scary freaking ghosts.
Okay,
right. Not really, but it is right. The season is getting darker, and Christmas Carol, and so on, and so this is part of his Ishmael Jones series. Now Ishmael, he's not your standard cookie cutter detective, okay, and this is why Baen publishes these, right? I'm not gonna give it away, but
I was about to, so I'm glad you said that. Okay, I won't say anything.
Well, I mean, this is I think book 12 in the series, so you can't. Each episode stands alone. Okay, book 11. Okay.
And this is because these were never released in America.
No,
these Simon's British, English, UK-ish.
Well,
I don't know what the term they like over there. Anyway,
he lives in England.
He lives in England,
yes.
And they were released over there, but never over here. And so we are reissuing the first 10, I guess. Is that correct?
We've got the first 3 on the schedule.
We've got the first 3 on the schedule. Yeah. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
But then this is a new one.
This is a brand new
one, and it's from us. So, yeah. Exciting.
So it has better art. I'm just saying. It does. Also that season we had Deploying Dragons by Dan Cobalt.
Yeah, the sequel to Domesticating Dragons.
Right. So, when you're looking to monetize your genetically designed dragon, what do? You look to the military-industrial complex, right? That's where the money is. So Dan is an active biologist. He's written literally the book on putting the science in science fiction, and he does. So he's part of our wave of hard science fiction, but dragons too. So, Deathless Gods came out in October by P.C. Hodgel.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Which one is that? Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Another beautiful cover there for Pat Hodgel. Part of one of my favorite series.
40th anniversary.
Oh, it's the 40th anniversary of the beginning of that series. They are just intricate and dark and arcane and beautiful and great characters. Also really good on horses. So well done, Pat. Joelle Presby in November.
Right, who's written with David Weber, but this is her first solo novel.
It is.
That's correct for us, anyway. Maybe period.
Period.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We got Kurt Miller again. Did the cover for this? It's hard science fiction. It's about what it takes on every possible level to get the first space elevator up and going on the continent of Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, and so Kurt also did these beautiful portraits of the 2 main engineers involved in this effort. They're cousins, and they have So again, we were talking about family. Right, they have to deal with their long, big, extended.
I've seen it in the.
It's so beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah. They're huge extended family, and that's part of the fun of the story, right? They didn't just kill off all their relatives, much as they might have wanted to at one point or another. So Joelle has lived in Africa. She's writing what she knows, and it's just so authentic. So
And again, one thing I do love about that kind of thing is we all like the familiar and stuff. We like what we like, and that's great. But it's also so cool to see something that everything feels new and fresh. It might not to someone who has lived in Africa, but to someone who hasn't.
Yeah.
Everything is cool. You know, like, oh, I didn't realize, and the cultural differences, and, you know. Yeah. And so it's neat to see that take through that different lens, I guess you might say.
Yeah, it is. And she also gets the giant mega corporation.
Because she also has experience in that, right?
Well, she was in the military.
Yeah.
And has worked with giant military contractors. Yeah. She was an officer in the Navy. Yeah. So she gets multiple different kinds of
that's also
cultures.
a different world.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, for us it is. Yeah. So really, really, you know, again, if you like hard science fiction, you are really going to, I think, go crazy for that one. Trinity's Children by Dave Barra. Just, you know, so much fun space adventure, right? I mean, it's just pure space adventure. We have exploding spaceships on the cover. Right. What more do you need? Right. Summer's End by John Van Stry in December. This is another sort of grittier. It's not grimdark. Sure. But it's a grittier version of the future. Yeah. People are leaving Earth because they need to get off the planet. And our hero is 17. He's just earned his engineer's degree, and he needs to get off the planet. As the novel develops, we discover more and more why. Precisely, he needs to leave the planet. He is leaving a dark past behind him. But this one reminded me so much of Heinlein, right? Yeah. Because he is a tough guy, right? And he relies on the lessons that he's learned as a tough guy to move forward in life. But he doesn't let that ruin it, right? He's always striving for a better future. And again, he's striving to help his family, right? He's striving to help get his brother off the planet and his parents off the planet. And he has many adventures along the way. So it's near future, near space, written by a guy who's been an engineer, who's been a tough guy, and it just comes off so authentically.
And he's a new writer for us as well. Yeah. So it's exciting to have him come on to the Baen family, be part of the Baen family.
Absolutely, yeah. He's an experienced indie author. So he's got some very successful self-published series, some science fiction, some fantasy, some other stuff. This is not that. This is just pure hard science fiction, an adventure. And then finally closing out the year. Let's put it that way. World's Long Lost, which is a original anthology edited by Christopher Rocchio, who started this project while he was an editor here at Baen, and Sean C.W. Korsgaard, who helped Christopher wrap the project up when he came on it. Yeah. So we have nice continuity there.
And this is sort of Lovecraftian, ancient alien science fiction sort of thing. I get the schedule's so weird, but I think as you are watching this, probably the week before, if you've checked it out, we did a big interview with a lot of the contributors and stuff. So give everyone get a chance to talk about their story. There's great people in it. A lot of names that you will recognize. So including Orson Scott Card, which we talked about with Gray when he was talking about it. That's the first Scott Card story in a Baen book. So,
I think Adam Oyebanji is also in it.
Yes,
he's an author who just had a new novel out earlier this year. I think this may be one of his first short stories that anybody has seen. Great stuff.
So that's 2022.
Whew. Yeah.
So what about 23? We got a whole new year coming up.
I'm so glad you asked.
Yes. What can people look forward to from Baen Books in the coming year?
So coming out in January, we have the sequel to Rich Man's Sky. Is
Will McCarthy.
Will McCarthy is Poor Man's Sky. So how does we know how the rich guys get to space, right? They develop their own rocket ships and send themselves up there, right? boom. There you go. That's how you do it. Okay, go. Right.
Easy peasy.
Right. So the rest
maybe
of
not
us,
that easy.
Right. The rest of us,
Easier peasier than for the rest of us. Yeah.
We partake in a
it's a reality show.
Reality TV show. That's right. So thousands of people sign up for this show, and part of the what determines who gets into space is your popularity on this TV show. And our hero in this, he knows he's not going to make it. He knows he's not going to make it. He's close. He's close. Yeah. He's really close, but he doesn't quite have the charisma that some of these guys do. But one of the guys who does have the charisma gets murdered on the moon.
Yeah, this is cool because it's in the same world, but it's not the same kind of book as the first one in the series.
No, it's very different.
Yeah, so it's very cool. Yeah,
it is. It's more of a straight narrative, less different viewpoints. Where we're following this one guy who is a police detective. So again, we're seeing that sort of police detective mystery way. Yeah, it's just happening. It's just happening. February. The month of love. What price victory? Right. David Weber asked the question, what price victory? And it's a new original anthology in the Honorverse. Again, great stuff. In March, the second book in Chuck Gannon's epic fantasy series.
What do we got? The Vortex of Worlds. That's the name of the series.
Yes, and Into the Vortex is actually in the title. Yeah. Then also in March we have Time Trials by Mike Rothman, M.A. Rothman, and again our own D.J. Butler. Yeah. And that's a weird one, okay? Yeah.
But it's a cool one.
It's a cool one. Yeah.
We don't publish things that aren't cool, so it goes without saying. But
it's a little bit. It's got elements of a lot of different things, right? It's got elements of time travel, sort of reminiscent of Mike Williamson's
Long Time Until Now.
Long Time Until Now.
Yes. Now this is. I always say that was now. This is then.
Right. Right. Yeah. Mike has hard titles. He does. But a little bit of alien contact.
A lot of like Egyptian mythology.
A lot of Egyptian mythology. Yes. Yeah. So if you think Egyptian mythology is cool and you'd like to go back to that time, these aliens will send you there. No pressure, only possibly the fate of the Earth. So, yeah. So, Time Trials. And then in April, again, we're looking at this fantasy moment. Was it book number 4 in Larry's fantasy trilogy? Yeah. Yes, it is. Okay. Tower of Silence.
Yeah. And this is the Son of the Black Sword epic fantasy.
Yeah. I just read it. Yeah. It's dark. Yeah. It's dark. I don't know whether we're working with Steve Diamond or it's just that's the part. I think it's that's the part of the story that we're in. But we learn a lot more about that world. So
very cool.
Yeah.
And that's a great series. I mean, we like everything Larry does, but
we do.
He's flexing on that one. I feel like in a good way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. Going back to the trade paperbacks, we had Chicks and Tank Tops. So much fun, right? Yeah. I wish I could cover on that one. Dave Seeley did the cover for this from a concept by Jason Cordova. Okay. I'm pretty sure that the only reason Jason did this book was to get this cover. And I'm 100% behind him. So, and so was Esther, by the way. Esther Friesner was the creator of the Chicks and Chainmail series. I remember the convention where she came up to me and said, Chicks and Chainmail and go. And I'm like, sure, that'll be great. We cannot call it that. And she's like, no, of course not. So I brought it to Jim Baen and he's like, oh, we have to call it Chicks and Chainmail. And we're like, okay. So the original Chicks and Chainmail, published amazing authors.
Oh, yeah.
And
it was a series of.
It was a series of original anthologies.
Now, but
6 or 7
a few.
or something. Yeah. So when Jason had the idea to do military chicks, this is actually one of our military science fiction original anthologies. So there are some very thoughtful military takes on this. There's also some weird stuff in here. Esther's story. whoa, just whoa. It has everything in it, and it's brilliant, and it's great.
Yeah.
It is absolutely worth the price of admission for that alone. But Steve,
and I know Jason has said this, but and we'll talk about it when it's released, but it's very important to him that Esther give her blessing, and she has been extremely supportive of it. Yeah. I know, and so that in addition to being excited about the book, he was excited,
just to get to
work with Esther and have your hero and your inspiration sort of give her blessing for the book.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, and it's nice to see that generational, handoff.
Yeah.
No, loving that. Also in January, Scarab Mission by Jim Cambias. Just doing great, mind-blowing, big, expansive ideas.
This is a sequel to
the Godel operation.
Yeah, Godel. Is it Godel or Godel?
It is Godel.
Okay,
because there's no umlaut. He totally. I was like, shouldn't that have an umlaut? And he's like, no, we don't use them in the future. I'm like, that makes my typesetting easier.
All right, there you go. Yeah, that was. I interviewed him about that on the podcast, and I love that book. It was a grand romp, but like you're saying, like mind bending ideas, and the hard science, but also. I don't know. This is great.
Yeah, but also great adventure.
Right? Yes, the adventure, but also hard science fiction at the same time.
Right. You can have both.
Yeah, you can do a little bit of peanut butter and chocolate.
Absolutely, we are all about the and here, right? The power of and. I think he and Will McCarthy are, and Joelle coming up are just sort of the modern day versions of Bob Ford and Greg Benford and Arthur C. Clarke, the truly great big idea science fiction people.
Right.
We're publishing them. Yeah. Mission Critical, which is a military science fiction set in Chuck Gainon's Reordin universe. That's coming up. High Noon on Proxima B, the
second space western.
Yes, the second space western. Again, original anthology by David Boop, who manages. He always puts together just a really cool bunch of people, and whose stories just they all take a very different take on what does a weird western in space look like, right? Let's see, The Moon in a Desert. Coming in.
Oh yeah, I know. Okay. We're excited about this.
Oh my god, yeah. All right, so again, this is part of our hard science fiction element.
Like very
super.
The hardest,
right, but also heart. Too.
Oh no, right, yeah. I guess some people get turned off. They think it's very sterile and technical, but that's not this.
No,
right.
Not at all. It's about it's an update of the $6 Million Man, right? It is written by Dr. Rob Hampson, who you may have seen in the Wall Street Journal recently for his groundbreaking research on artificial memory that he implants in the brain. So he's sort of taking it. All right, what's the next step? What is it going to take for someone who is handicapped to be able to become space ready, and that is what The Moon in the Desert is about. It is about the next $6 Million Man. We can rebuild him. So it is. Again, just really excited. We're bringing Witchy Eye back in trade paperback. Dave Butler's the first book in his series. More space, more hard SF from Patrick Childs.
Yeah.
Escape Orbit.
This is.
Is
that the second? Yes, that's the second in his.
His Eccentric Orbit series.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Wraithbound, that book that we were talking about by Tim Akers.
And Tim did. We said Valhellions and Night Watch, and those are sort of what we said. Men in Black at the Ren Fair. They're fun.
They're lighthearted.
This is like not.
Oh no. No.
But the audience will follow him, I think. Right? I think so. But they're different books.
They are very different. Yeah, it's sort of as Monster Hunter is to Son of the Black Sword.
Yeah.
So Night Watch is to Wraithbound. Right? But yeah. So we do know what it's going to look like for the rest of 2023. We've got a new standalone novel by Simon Green. We've got more from Weber and Hollow. We've got hard science fiction original anthology Shared World by Les Johnson and engineer Ken Roy. We talked about the new Liam Miller. We've got a new Indigent and Fix Planet
Butler,
Adventure
yeah.
from Dave Butler. We've got more from Chuck Gannon. We've got a reprint anthology, They're Here by Hank Davis and
Another
Sean
great,
Korsgaard.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Hank's taste is, you can't go wrong.
No, you really can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so reliable and so good, and
Yeah.
his memory is just
Freakish.
freakishly good.
Freakishly good.
Yeah, no, but and again, working with Sean, a younger editor, you really get a range of stories. So they're all themed, but you get to see all the variations.
Yeah, they don't feel redundant.
No,
they feel
really don't.
different every story.
Yeah, absolutely. We are doing so. There's sort of two moments happening in that season. We have historical fantasy from new to Baen author Gregory Frost.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Called Reimer. Reimer is the first of this planned of three, and he gets the medieval right. He absolutely gets all the details, the architecture and the mud and the economy and all of it. Again, it's a little dark. It's a little dark, right? It's a very different take on the Thomas the Rhymer. Okay, the elves are not the good guys.
Yeah.
They're not. They're just not. So that's coming out that season. But also Howard Andrew Jones.
Yeah.
We were talking about sword and sorcery before. He's sort of the dean of the new edge. I think they're calling it, right, for sword and sorcery. If you like Conan. If you like Robert E. Howard, if you like David Drake's Vedius series, you are going to love the Hanovar Chronicles. So much fun. And then we're also doing something new to Baen. Yes, we are co-publishing 2 graphic novels. These were graphic novels that were crowdfunded. One was Black Tide Rising. Graphic novel with Chuck Dixon as the lead author on that. And that's, of course, related to John Ringo's Black Tide Rising series. Then we're doing also a superhero a comic book, graphic novel. It's about superheroes, right? And the twist is that there's no weird subversion of the comic book tropes.
We decided to just not deconstruct it and see what happens.
There we go.
Right. Yeah.
So they are fun adventures. They're graphic novels. They're going to be available as ebooks and as trade paperbacks. And then moving on further deeper into the year, we've got I won't go over anything that I haven't already mentioned. Oh, new Monster Hunter book, new Monster Hunter memoirs book. We take
even further back than the Ringo. Or is that right? Or am I
it is
wrong?
further back.
Yeah.
Yes. We take Monster Hunter into the disco era.
Nice.
There's going to be a disco ball on the cover.
We did have Monster Hunter Grunge, which was 90. Are we calling this Monster Hunter Disco?
We're calling it Monster Hunter Fever.
There we go. Yes.
So Alan Pollock is. We've just seen the sketches for that. That's coming in. We've got the second of the Hanovar Chronicles. Will be in the.
Oh wow!
We'll be close on. Yes.
Boom, boom. Okay.
Yes. Let's see. Dirty Water by Tom Kratman. Tom is from Boston. Mm-hmm. He loves that dirty water, right? The line from the song. And this is a weird portal science fiction thing that opens in a curiosity shop. So very different. Yeah. Very different mode.
That's probably not what most people immediately would think of. So that's cool.
Yes. Yeah. That's going to be interesting. We've got a new novel by Richard Fox. Richard Fox, we know, has done The Governor with David Weber. Yeah. This is a solo novel in his own universe. It's a space fantasy adventure.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Big, sprawling, great characters. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think we probably. Oh no! I know one more. Well, 2 more. All right, we have a solo by Jacob Hollow in the Gordian Division series.
Cool.
That will continue the detective detective stream.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we have a new solo science fiction novel by Mona Lisa Foster.
Oh, great.
Called Threading
Yeah.
the Needle.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
Yeah. All right.
yes. It's a planetary adventure. Our heroine is a retired military. She's looking to become a settler on a planet, but she's got to make the money first. So she's just finished up her 10-year stint as a bodyguard to the rich and famous on this planet. She's made her nut. Now she just wants to go and live a peaceful life in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it happens, and that's the end of the book.
And that's it. That's all we get. This one reminded me so strongly of Lois Bujold's.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Right. Well, that's high praise.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. So,
excellent.
So there's a lot to look forward to next year.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking us through all of that. And if we will talk about as many of these. We try to always cover the hardcovers and the trade paperbacks if the authors are available and willing. So we'll look forward to having them on in 2023. And of course, I think besides the Travis when he was filming, I think all of these we've covered in the podcast. So if something seemed interesting, go buy the book, but you can also go listen to the authors talk about the book on our website or our YouTube channel. So Toni, thank you so much, and we will look forward to 2023 at Baen Books.
All right, thank you, David.
Sure.
Okay.
Everybody, we're here with DJ Dave Butler. You know him from the podcast. You know him from Baen, being a Baen writer. And you may know him. Also, he is a Baen editor now. You've been working on books this past year. I'm sure we'll talk about some of them.
Well, that's been very exciting.
You came on this year, or I guess very late last year, doing that. And we've been glad to have you as part of the team. And let's jump into it and talk about 2022.
Fantastic.
And some memorable points for you, I guess, as far as with regard to Baen.
Yeah, with regard to Baen.
Yeah.
That's a good qualifier. It was a great year. Wow, what a lot of fun we had. So the stack of books will remind me about the book length stuff. So let me call out first Christopher Baxter's Baen Fantasy Adventure Award winning short story On Cultivating a Chosen One. Wow, how fun was that? We had a lot of people in the office comment actually today as I've been talking about it that what a favorite that was. Yeah. Kind of a cool ironic, systematic assault on the trope of, hey, prophecy, there's a chosen one coming, we'll prepare and we'll protect and, nurture the young Harry Potter so he can overthrow the Dark Lord. And that's still available on the Baen website. I don't know what the URL is, but if you search for Baxter or Chosen One on our website, you'll find the story free. Christopher's all three of the winner and the runners-up. I got to meet them, interview them in the podcast, met one of them at DragonCon, and I think they're all young talent to watch. Yeah. So that was really cool. Other great stuff, though. We had some cool anthologies this year, and I confess I don't know all of them inside out, but a couple.
You are in the inside.
I am in the inside of some of them.
And maybe the outside is your name on the front. Anyway,
yeah, these two I wanted to call these out, and it is true I happen to be in them, but that's I just think they're awesome. So Sword and Planet, what a cool neglected genre. I think a lot of us, I guess us meaning people in science fiction who are as old as me. I don't know if this is true anymore, but Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, like. I would go to the library and there were books that I would check out over and over again. And Tarzan was cool, but I always liked John Carter. John Carter. The Venus stuff also cool, but like John Carter at Mars was my guy.
Yeah.
And so the idea to sort of resurrect, it's not a dead genre, but to go back and look again at this, not recently appreciated genre maybe.
And in some ways, I mean, you can talk about H.G. Wells, but in some ways, the roots of the genre, really.
Yeah.
John Carter is like 1912, I think, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, very early.
Yeah.
And to sort of play with a little bit with with the boundary between fantasy and science fiction, right?
Right.
Being Sword and Planet is potentially right there, where John Carter. I mean, is it science fiction really? I mean, I don't know. Spaceships, it's aircraft. The guy has a sword. He kind of gets to Mars by magic. So this is a lot of fun with some great writers in it. T.C. McCarthy, Jody Nye, Tim Akers. I have a short story in it. So yeah, that was a really cool one. Right at the beginning of the year, right? January, February, something like that.
It may have even been late 21.
Was it?
I don't remember.
I thought it was scheduled for late 21. And
maybe, no, I think it did come out in like February.
We had supply chain issue or something.
Yeah,
so
I think it was
beginning of the
February.
year.
Yeah, I think you're
if
right.
I have inadvertently chosen a 2021 book, my apologies. I was excited about it in 2022, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Whenever it actually came out.
The excitement carried over.
Yeah.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So what's this? What do we got?
Weird World War IV. Sean
Yes.
Hazlett has done this great series. There is a Weird World War III. This one is out. I think it just came out in mass market, or is about to come out in mass market now. There is also a Weird World War China coming. It's very topical. Probably that's coming in 2023. So I think that probably 2024 maybe. I'm getting a signal from our cameraman. That one's coming up. These are again some huge contributors. Jonathan Mayberry, for example, is in here. Brad Torgerson, Mike Williamson. So and like David said, it happens. I have a story on both of these. But the Weird World War IV anthology, Weird World War III, was the premise was to write a story about a world war that is presumably in the future of now, but at least after World War II, which is in some sense weird. Weird World War IV is you have to write about a world war in the future in which there has been an intervening war.
Yeah.
So you have to be two world wars in the future, and so a lot. And it's not a single war. This is not one of these anthologies.
It's not a shared
timeline.
Yeah.
Right. So they're pretty wildly different.
And I know some authors in this one were in 3, and they sort of did sequels, but some were not in 3, and they invented 2, like you said.
Right. You had to at least have a little bit of backstory about the missing war in between. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a lot of fun. Sean Hazlett is a guy to watch. He also is a writer. I think sort of tends to favor horror, actually, personally, and his own writing. So loved that those came out. That was a lot of fun. Now, have you read the Lynn Skold books, Library of the Sapphire Wind and Aurora Borealis Bridge, David?
I haven't.
We put out so many books.
I confess that I have not read those all the way through.
But it is cool. You do know though that
I do love
one
this
cover painting.
feature.
This is pretty cool, right? It is one painting. Tom Kidd. This reflects apparently the way we got the manuscript. We got one manuscript, and it was long enough that my understanding is Toni said make this 2 books, and so Jane did. Jane's a delight. I got to interview. I got to read these. I had to read them because I got to interview her about them, and it was a lot of fun. This is it's about 3 women who have a book group, and they're mature women. So I think the young one is 50, and I think there's a 60 and 70-ish. And because they're all various reasons, various degrees, basically single, they are the only ones who show up for the reading club, the book club, at the local library on Valentine's Day, when they are summoned into another world. It's a portal fantasy, but the thing is, in this other world, they are basically the role of fairy godmothers. So there are what would be YA protagonists if they were the protagonists, which they're not. There are these young people in the other world, and I say people, but if you see the covers, there are a bunch of zoomorphs, basically humanoids with animal heads, and that's what they are. There's a stag-headed and a fox-headed and a lion-headed youth who have various serious crises, and when they try to summon help, they get these 3 women. So it's kind of like an epic fantasy novel in which we are following the adventures of the fairy godmothers. And it's great. It's intergenerational, but rather than being told from the view of the kid, getting to sort of understand the older person, like something like Tommy Lee Jones and Michael Caine, Young Lions, right? Or Old Lions was the name of the film. Might be Old Lions. We always see that story from the side of the kid, right? And this is that story from the side of the adult, going and solving what is ultimately confronting what is ultimately a world-threatening crisis in this fantasy world, which ultimately, and this is the kind of fantasy I love, ultimately involves elements from our world, including kind of legendary reimagining of like biblical creation story stuff. So very cool, a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah.
There, and I think there's a book 3. I think she's working on a book 3.
Yeah. So I don't know what order I will edit these together, but I did just talk to Toni, and she's confirmed. Yeah, it's maybe not quite like a direct sequel, I think she said, but it is a 3rd book in the world. Yeah.
She and I both talk about this book?
Toni talked about all the books, so don't worry about it. So we want to hear your point of view, too. Don't. And speaking of your point of view, well, another thing I know is cool is that you've gotten the chance to, and maybe this is for next year, but it was for this year, too. You got a chance to work on, as an editor, work on the Tim Powers book, which I know is a thrill for you because you are the mildest of Tim Powers fans. Is that an understatement?
It's like having the mildest case of rabies. So I've been a Tim Powers fan since, again, going to the library. This is what I did as a kid. I was, 11, 12 years old. I walked to the library a mile away, and I would check out whatever books I could, and then I would hit the Smith's grocery store and buy a 99-cent bag of licorice, and I would go lay in my bed and read books all day. And I read The Drawing of the Dark, and I think I must have been no older than 12 when I read it. We do not publish that book, at least presently, but it's absolutely fabulous story about the siege of Vienna and an Irish mercenary who sort of comes in contact with this crazy old artillery engineer, and it unfolds that at Vienna there is this grave of a culture hero, like the original culture hero of the West, and it is now beneath a vat of beer. It's inside the vat of beer, and so the physical body of this original culture hero of the West slowly brews this beer, and every 800 years, the beer has to be tapped. It's called the Drawing of the Dark, the Herzen West, the Heart of the West dark beer. And that's a moment of great weakness for the West. And that moment when the powers of, that oppose the West rise up to try and overthrow it. And so, Suleiman's siege of Vienna is the forces of darkness coming to try and stop the dark from being drawn. And it turns out that Brian Liffey, the mercenary, I think that's his name, Liffey, is the inevitable. Every time the dark is drawn, that culture hero reincarnates. And so in the previous phase, he was King Arthur, and now he's Brian Liffey, and so he's now, he has to protect the beer until, I can't remember if it's like midsummer or the equinox or something, when the beer has to be drawn with the help of crazy old gunpowder Merlin while Vienna is besieged. So, like, what a wonderfully insane, erudite, delightful, exciting book. I've been a fan of Tim since then. I met him in recent, probably 2018 or 2019, met him at Dragon Con, and I consider him a friend. He knows my name, I think. It was very exciting. In the first case, this year, I got to interview Tim about his Vickery and Castine books.
Yeah.
The third one, yeah.
Which tackles UFOs.
Stolen Skies,
yeah,
is that right? Stolen Skies. Yeah, which is the Vickery and Castine books are. So I should say I really like that one, Stolen Skies. If you are at all entertained by, you don't have to like believe anything, but if you're at all entertained by talk of UFOs, tinfoil hat stuff, right? Black helicopters, secret geometries and standing stone formations, right? This is a series for you. Vickery and Castine are both basically secret agents. Castine is in the different stories with different federal agencies. Vickery is sort of used to be with, but is now, he's like the Gene Hackman character in Enemy of the State. Everything wrapped in tinfoil, living in trailers, and it's an urban fantasy trilogy. Yeah. And I got to interview Tim. Absolute delight. I also got to edit a Tim Powers novel. How crazy is that? If you had told 12-year-old Dave, hey, there will come a day when you get to edit a Tim Powers novel. Yeah. How cool. First of all, I would have said, what do you mean edit?
I'm 12.
I don't understand. I'm 12.
But once you understood, you would have been impressed.
I would have been impressed with my future self. It was a lot of fun. So this book is coming out 2023. Fall. I will tell you, if you liked Stress of Her Regard, right, which is a classic Tim Powers novel in which Byron and Shelley and Keats are important characters. That's a great one. You should read it. If you haven't heard of this book or read it, you should go read Stress of Her Regard, even though we don't publish it. But you should read it. It's about a tribe of mountain-dwelling vampires who harass mortal men, but also give them poetic abilities. And it's about how basically Byron ultimately tries to fight back and defeat the Lamii. And so it's this secret history, and it ties in with the writings of these various poets and novelists, but also like the Carbonari, the sort of Italian version of Freemasonry, who are sort of anti-Habsburg rebels in at least some of them in the real world, but in this history they're a secret rebellion against this vampire tribe. Classic Tim Powers. Hide Me Among the Graves was sort of a semi-sequel to that. This new book, My Brother's Keeper, takes us into a very similar space. And I don't want to say too much, so I will say that the protagonist is a classic figure from English literature.
I think Toni...
Are the beans spilled?
You can say who it is.
Yeah. Emily Bronte is the main character. It's mostly Emily Bronte's point of view, but it's about the Bronte family being cursed and dealing with a curse that involves werewolves and demons and other stuff. And it's very cool. It's very
I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
But, we mentioned you're in there. But you've also had some stuff coming out. We talked again we'll probably put Toni at the end editing when I edit this. But I talked to Toni about Abbott in Darkness.
Oh yeah,
first real
science fiction.
Yeah, first
real novel.
Well, let's strong words. No, no. But your first, straight up science fiction novel.
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's very kind.
And we talked about it on the podcast, and so I don't know if you want to talk about that.
I'll talk about that, and
then we need to talk about what's coming up for you next year because you got a few things in the pipeline.
Yeah, I do. So, Abbott in Darkness is. Story of a space accountant, which this is what we all want to read. It's looks about a young man, not a child, like a young man. He's got a young family. Okay, he's out of school. It's his first big job. This is his big shot, and at making his fortune, and it's on a planet 40 light years from Earth that is controlled by a corporation, by a big company. And it's the model here is the East India Company, okay, where Without going too much into this, right? The sort of the basic problem with the East India Company is that they were far enough away from London that they sort of, on purpose, sort of accidentally assumed government-like functions, but they didn't have government-like incentives or government-like checks. Right. So they have a for-profit corporation basically finding itself in charge. And that's the situation here. So the Saravar company and Saravar system, John Abbott goes for this, his job as an accountant, and gets sort of caught up in this espionage, skimming from the books, gun running sort of plot in which he quickly his life and his family's life's in jeopardy, and so it's so science fiction, a lot of fun, ray guns, family dog. There's I tuckerize my dog, and that came out this year, and I was very excited to see that. It's a lot of fun.
Well, does the dog live?
The dog lives.
The dog lives.
The dog also changes color. It is my dog, except that the
Your
dog
dog
changes
does not
color.
change colors.
My dog doesn't actually change colors. My dog sort of appears to change colors. Yeah, like in the
Trick of the light or something.
well, in the summer she sheds. Her coat's a lot thinner. And she looks reddish. And then in the winter, her coat's a lot thicker and it looks black. So yeah, that came out. That was a lot of fun.
What are these guys doing?
Well, let me talk about this, but give me a minute. Let me talk first about Pat Childs, because I want to talk about that as well. I got to edit Tim Powers. I've got to edit other novels too. I've been editing various Baen novels, and if I leave one out, you should not infer that I don't like it. But I just want to talk about two. So
sure,
Tim Powers, awesome, and Pat Childs. Holy cow, Pat Childs. We publish 2 books by Pat, and his third with us at least is coming out next year, and it's called Escape Orbit, and I got to edit that. Man, that was a lot of fun. Pat's a smart guy. He's a smart writer. Hard science fiction, sort of near future science fiction, sort of like something like Christopher Nolan's. Oh shoot, no, I forgot the name of it. The one about relativity. Interstellar. Thank you. It's sort of kind of in that space in terms of time, and also in terms of a little bit some kind of the feel. So if you read Frozen Orbit, which was the first book in the series, Frozen Orbit is about an expedition out to Pluto because there's some weird readings out there. And basically we pick up where that finishes, and the protagonist, I should say, a point of view character from book 1. I don't want to spoil book 1 at all. Basically wakes up and maybe potentially to our surprise is still alive, but also sort of not in his own body. And it's about discovering exploring what the anomaly was that was discovered at the end of book 1. It's got an interesting kind of thinking about relativistic effects, and kind of a first contact scenario where the contact is really with artifacts, right? As opposed to Green Man comes out of a suit and says, "Take me to your leader." So Patrick Childs, really really smart stuff. Escape Orbit. So go read Frozen Orbit now, and
you'll be ready.
And then you'll be ready. And you could also read Frontier, which is his standalone novel, not in the same series. So so I'm looking forward to that. It was a lot of fun to edit those books this year. Looking forward to books coming out. This book came out. This is a book by me, but it's not from this year. It's 2020. I know that because it came out in July of 2020, right in the height of COVID, when no one was going to bookstores, and people were worried about losing their jobs. But it's a lot of fun. It is sword and sorcery-ish. It is a little science fiction-ish. It is about a future Earth and these two kind of sword and sandal characters who are making a living basically as mercenaries. They're thinkers. It's a heavily banter-driven sort of setting.
Kind of a buddy cop
It's buddy comedy
maybe
thing.
Not cop, but
Yeah, well, kind of cop.
Yeah.
By the end, they basically become cops.
not buddy. Yeah,
But yeah, it's a buddy cop story.
but we bring it up now.
We're bringing it up now because there are 2 sequels coming out in 2023. Very exciting. So the first is in May or something like that, and it's called Between Princesses and Other Jobs, and that's actually a collection. So I've written 10 short stories about these characters. So actually, the story in Sword and Planet that I have is a story about Indrajit and Fix. Between Princesses and Other Jobs is a collection of 10 short stories, and then a brand new novella. So even if you've read those short stories, which you probably haven't read all of them, but if you have, thank you.
You were an avid P.J. Butler fan, and
You might have been tracking them
bought
down.
all the magazines and anthologies.
Yeah.
You will still have something new.
There is still something new. There's still an anthology called The Politics, or not anthology, a novella called The Politics of Wizards. Yeah, and it's got a great cover art. Kieran Yanner does the cover art for book 2.
He did this too. Right?
He did not. No,
Oh,
that
this
is
is different.
by
Okay. Let's
the
find
Captain Morgan guy.
Don Mates.
That's it, Don Mates, who also did the covers on the current editions of Book of the New Sun. The what are they called? Yeah, Gene Wolfe. But they have the 2 books in. One of them's called Sword. One of them's called Claw. Is that right? It's 4 books in 2 volumes. Anyway, those have Don Mates covers.
Yeah, well, this is a great cover, and the new one is great.
And the new one's great too.
Oh, do we have?
And do we have? Oh, hey, check this out. So here's our handsome
this
cameraman.
is slightly different than the final version.
The final version, it has a little bit different design, but
the
art is on
the
it.
same, yeah.
So this is Kieran Yanner's, and you can see it's got Indrajit and Fix and their dog-headed Keon Archer companion. These are actually clients. These little sort of badger-looking fellows. And this is sort of the climactic battle at the Politics of Wizards, actually. So, and then there's a full-on straight-up novel that follows later in the year, which is called Among the Grey Lords, which is about the thieves' guilds of the ancient city Kish, where they live. So yeah, I
look forward to that.
Yeah.
And then there's at least one other thing.
And one other thing, I also have a novel coming out with Mike Rothman in March.
This is we know him as Mike, but M.A. Rothman.
M.A. Rothman, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess there's 2 things. So, novel coming out. It's called Time Trials, and that's a lot of fun. It's sort of Stargate meets Indiana Jones as an archaeology team goes back in time to ancient Earth and discovers that monsters rule North Africa, and they're trying to become the champions of humanity against these monsters. That's got some light gamelit kind of elements too. If you're a gamelit reader, you might check it out for that reason. But also the same month, Witchy Eye gets a new edition.
Because we don't have it.
Which we don't have. It doesn't exist yet. Yeah. Which has an author's preface and also has a short story in it called Calvin Calhoun Sees the Lights of Atlanta. And the reason, or part of the reason why I knew, or I should say at least at the same time, I think something is happening, is the new edition of Witchy Eye is coming out, and I think that means that Witchy Eye, the old edition, is going to become free on the Baen website.
Great. You're going to become part of...
I will be one of the...
Subsumed into the Baen Free Library.
That's correct.
Excellent.
I will be in the Baen Free Library. So as of March, if you're like, I've been on the fence about this Dave guy for 6-7 years. I don't know about him. You can try that one for free.
Oh, excellent.
So, so that's... I feel like I'm talking very fast. Sorry, David.
We got a lot to cover, so no worries. Yeah. A lot of exciting things happening.
Yeah.
For you and for Baen.
Yep.
And absolutely. You at Baen.
And me at Baen.
The Venn diagram overlap.
Absolutely. I'm. Let's see. I don't know if I can say this. You have to delete this out if I can't say
this part.
So one of the projects that it looks like I'm probably going to be working with is getting into our study guides a little bit, which I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's not secret that we have them.
No. Yeah. So these are the guides that we provide. So if you are a teacher or a homeschooler. and you want to use our books, you give the kids something exciting to read. You can use these as, I think, a little, or even for a book club. I think that would be okay.
So things like, hey, here are maybe some of the challenging vocabulary to look up, right? Have your students look these words up.
Yeah.
Here are some discussion questions. Here are themes to think about in the book. Here are historical references and what they mean, right? That kind of thing. So we've got them for a number of our books, and we haven't put out any for a few years.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
It's been a minute.
So, yeah, that's exciting.
I am excited.
We'll
I think that's actually very cool.
Opportunities for those. So.
Yes. And maybe I can get Pat Childs and Tim Powers study guides.
Maybe. Well, we'll see. So, all right. Well, this is DJ Butler, Dave Butler, and you have seen him on the podcast before, and you're going to continue, I hope.
I'm excited.
You're not going to turn me down on
I just need
camera.
you to tell me what's next.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll do it. So thank you so much for coming on and talking about Baen over this last year, and looking forward into the future.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, David.
All right. And now we bring you Timothy Zahn's Cobra. Earth's only hope was the Cobras. The colony worlds Adirondack and Silvern fell to the Troft forces almost without a struggle. Outnumbered and on the defensive, Earth made a desperate decision. It would attack the aliens not from space, but on the ground, with forces the Trofts did not even suspect. Thus were created the Cobras, a guerrilla force whose weapons were surgically implanted, invisible to the unsuspecting eye, yet undeniably deadly. But power brings temptation, and not all the Cobras could be trusted to fight for Earth alone. Johnny Moreau would learn the uses and abuses of his special abilities and what it truly meant to be a Cobra.
Interlude. The haiku garden in Horm's dome apartment was a minor miracle of horticultural design, a true example of the melding of nature with technology. Somehow, Darl had never before noticed the harmony of the place, the ease, for example, with which the holographic walls and ceiling complemented the pattern of the walkways to give the illusion of a much larger garden than was actually here. The gently shifting winds, the whispered hints of distant waterfalls and birds, the genuine sunshine brought in via mirrors from outside. Darl was impressed by the richness of it all. Had Horm, he wondered, always kept these sensory distractions at a minimum whenever the two men had walked here together in the past? Probably. But today there were no reports for Horm to concentrate on. Only small talk and goodbyes. "You'll need particularly to watch out for Comité Pendrican," Orm commented as he stooped briefly to examine a particularly well-textured Sakara shrub. "He's never liked me and will probably transfer that animosity to you. Illogical, really, but you know the multi-generational grudges they like to hold on Zimbwe." Darl nodded. He was well aware of Pendrican's attitude. "I've watched you handle him often enough, sir. I think I know the levers to use on him." "Good. But don't go out of your way to pick any fights for a while. The committee's a surprisingly conservative body, and it'll be a bit before they feel at ease with you sitting at the table instead of behind it." "And vice versa," Darl murmured. Horm smiled, the expression becoming wistful as he looked around the garden. "I have no fears for you, Darl. You have a natural talent for the job of comité, the ability to see what needs to be done and how to do it. This whole resolution of the immediate Cobra problem showed that. Your campaign was masterfully executed, from original concept to final committee approval." "Thank you, sir, though as I've said before, the basic idea came from elsewhere." Horm waved aside the distinction. "You're not supposed to reinvent the fusion plant every time you need something. It's your staff's job to come up with ideas. It's your job to evaluate them. Don't ever fall into the trap of trying to do it all yourself." Darl suppressed a smile. "Yes, sir." Horm gave him a sideways glance. And before you savor the irony of that too much, remember how much work I've dumped on you alone. Pick your aides well, Darl. In all too many cases, they're what make or break a comité. Darl nodded silently, and the two men continued their walk. Looking around, Darl found his mind drifting back and forth across his 13 years as Horm's aide. It didn't seem nearly long enough to prepare him for the task ahead. So, what's the latest word from Aventine? Startled, Darl tried to put his brain back online. Aventine? Oh, right, the new colony world. The first wave of colonists seems to be settling in well enough. No major problems or overly dangerous fauna. At least as of 3 months ago. Horm nodded. True. The communications time lag, Darl had already realized, was going to be a problem in governing the new colony. Choosing a competent and reliable governor-general was going to be a major committee task soon. And how do the Trofts seem to be taking it? Horm asked. No trouble at all, so far. Not even any boarding of ships going down the corridor to check for military hardware. Not what I expected. Still, all the ships up to now have been carrying Cobras as well as colonists. They may not have wanted to tangle with them again, but that can't last. Horm walked for a moment in silence. Somewhere along the line, the Trofts are bound to realize Aventine is a potential threat to them. When that happens, the colony has to be strong enough to defend itself. Or spread out enough that it can't be taken in a single blow, Darl suggested. Horm sighed. A less acceptable position, but probably a more realistic one. Certainly in the short run. They'd come full circle around the garden now, and Horm paused at the office door for one last look. If you'll sit still for one final word of advice, Darl, he said slowly. I'd recommend you find someone for your staff who really understands the Cobras. Not their weaponry specifically, but the Cobras themselves. Darl smiled. I believe I can do even better than that, sir. I've already been in touch with the young man who suggested the Aventine colony in the first place. His brother, as it happens, is one of the Cobras out there. Horm returned the smile. I see I've trained you better even than I thought. I'm proud to have you as my successor, Comité Darl. Thank you, sir, the younger man managed to say. May you always be so proud of me. Together they left the garden, to which Horm would never return.
That was another installment in Timothy Zahn's Cobra, and that's it for the podcast. Thanks as always to Audible.com and podcast theme composer Ruth Judkowitz. Praise, thanks, and gratitude to Toni Weisskopf, DJ Butler, Gray Rinehart, and good night, Tony Daniel, wherever you are. This is David Afsharirad coming to you from a soundproof bunker somewhere deep in the heart of Texas. Join us here next week at the hammering heart of science fiction and fantasy, and keep reaching for the stars.